What are you nervous for?
I don't know. This is not what I normally do. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. What do you normally do? What happened when I first told you that let's do this podcast?
You sent me a message. You put me, Ibi, and yourself obviously in a group chat, and you said, Josh, podcast next week. And I sent you 3 emojis back, no words. It was just wide eyes. And
then what'd you do?
I had to go outside just to calm myself down because I was like, crap. I've never done this before. And I was like, oh, what is he going to ask me? Everything.
You sent me a message saying that you said, sorry, I was hyperventilating.
My beats per minute was like 158. Like, it was up there. So I was like, crap. Like,
Why?
I don't know. Even right now, I guarantee if I check it, we're talking triple digits. Don't know why. Yeah.
Well, why? What's wrong? Why are you feeling like that for?
As I say, because it's not something we do every single day. Like, I don't do this every single day.
But what are you doing? You're just having a chat with me.
That's true. But I know there's people listening. I know there's going to be people watching. So
But it's not live,
that's true.
even though I don't edit anything.
Yeah, I know, one take.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right.
So so what happened? What? Listen, this Josh I'm seeing now is not the Josh that was. Well, how long ago? Firstly, you sent me a text message last week,
Yeah.
and what did it say?
So I just listed my 10th.
Yep.
More to come.
Yep.
Avalanche is coming.
Yes. And then go back 8 months,
Yep.
and we talked about you doing 6.
Correct.
And you said something about you're excited to be on this journey.
Journey.
Some type of political reply.
Yeah,
to me,
100%.
Right?
Just a typical reply.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, it was like political.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then 8 months later,
Yep.
it's kind of different person. So right now, that's what you're kind of doing. That's your last month, which
Yep.
was 10.
Yep.
When you first, now tell me, let's talk about like when you were, before you came here,
Yep.
what were you doing?
Of course. So I was working in Ibi's team.
Yep.
I've been in real estate for 8
Anyone
years
else know,
total.
Ibrahim's one of the top agents. He's doing he was doing at the time maybe 150, 160 sales per year.
Yeah, consecutively.
And you were his associate.
Yeah, correct. Like I was his 2 IC, so to
What
speak.
does that mean? That's what he was calling you to.
Yeah, he was calling
like
me
an
2
upgrade.
IC, and that's what people.
He also
saw me as.
said working with you was like walking on eggshells. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was calling you 2 IC.
I think, look, I was just the most experienced associate in the team.
Okay,
That's what it
How
was.
long were you an associate for in that team?
In that team, I was with him for 5 years. 5 and a bit years.
Well, how come you didn't become an agent in those 5 years?
I think it always came down to me. I mean, look, it's just, I think I was comfortable. I was comfortable in the team that I was in. I was comfortable with my surroundings. I was comfortable working with Ibi. Like, we had a structure. It was like,
So you were comfortable earning a quarter of what you're earning now, and a comfortable helping a quarter of what you're helping now.
Correct. Like, I was comfortable.
Are you more comfortable now with what you're earning and what you're achieving and who you're impacting?
Yeah, 100%. But obviously, I reckon I haven't even started.
Okay, but so comfort couldn't have been the reason why
True.
you were there. Okay.
True. I mean, I think the environment that we were in as well, you would constantly see people go out into sales and then go back as an associate, or they'll go into sales 3 months and then all of a sudden, like, you just fall off the planet.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a bad environment because it produced some really,
100%.
really great people.
100%. Like, I've taken so many things from my previous, environment and the ones even prior to that, because even where we were before, and that wasn't even my first.
Yeah.
So I've taken, bits of every single step.
Yeah.
And obviously that's helped me mold into what I am today. So I think, it's helped.
But you were an associate for 6 years. So if people don't know what an associate is, it was just helping the main agent.
Correct.
But for 5 or 6 years.
Correct.
And then when you came over, what happened? So what happened next?
So obviously we came over back end of last year. I was still working in Ibi's team, but I was sort of doing my own thing, but still assisting Ibi in the team, of course.
Yeah.
I'll obviously have my own clients. I'll go, list them, sell them, this and that, but obviously still within the team structure.
Yeah.
And then I think just something sort of flipped in my head and it was like, you know what, like I can do this on my own. Like, it got into that stage where, obviously met you, spoken to, other guys within the company, a mom, things like that. And it just got to a stage where like, you know what, I actually can do it on my own.
Yeah. Well, you said you were calling.
Yep.
So how many people used to call a day or something?
So the target was 60.
60.
60 connects.
And what did we say when you first came on board?
Like, you won't need to do that.
Yeah, probably stop doing that.
Yeah, you won't need to do that.
Do you remember why? Do you remember what changed? Like what what was the reason why you shouldn't be doing 60 or 70 a day? I didn't say you shouldn't be doing 60 or 70 a day. We said the way you're doing it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Correct. It was the messaging behind it.
Yeah.
And the intent behind it.
Yeah.
Obviously, anyone can bang out 60 or 100 calls, but if you're not delivering, relevancy, then at the end of the day, you're just annoying people.
So how does a guy working 5 years as an associate, doing seemingly everything right, calling 70 people a day, working long hours, working for 4 years as an associate, 5 years as an associate, 6 years as an associate, doesn't become an agent, and then within 8 months, not only becomes an agent, becomes a real great value add agent, doing 6 to 10 deals a month, helping 6 to 10 families a month. How does that happen so quickly? Because on paper, you were doing everything right. For those 4 or 5 years or 5 or 6 years.
It's going to sound cliche, especially because where we are, but it genuinely comes down to belief. Genuinely. And people probably laugh at that, but genuinely.
Why do you think people laugh at that, Josh? Why do you think people laugh at that?
Because it's like that, oh yeah, all right, belief, because, sometimes people don't see belief as a real thing. So
Is that what you saw? You didn't see belief as a real thing?
Look, I didn't.
What did you think when you first came on board?
Oh, when I first came on board, I was like, oh, okay, this is full on, this belief stuff, and we sound like a little cult in a sense, but at the end of the day, it's. I thought it was different, but then obviously when
you don't think it takes belief for a family to pick up and move their entire family from one place to another?
Oh, 100%. 110%, yeah. And, speaking to others, as mentioned, it gets to a stage where everything starts to click. Ibi would always message me, and you would message me as well, 6 months, you're going to be number one in this, you're going to be number one in that. And it was like that movie.
Was the messaging we sent you complicated?
No, simple.
Yeah. And when you started to complicate things, what did we do?
Break it down to obviously, make it as simple again.
Yep.
Correct.
Exactly. Yep.
Ibi always mentioned, get to 3, flow to 6, get to 3, flow to 6. So at the end of the day, it was very, very simple stuff. You'd message me 2-3 times a day, the exact same message for weeks and days on end.
And did you really believe it at the start?
Genuinely?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Say the truth.
Genuinely? No. Right now, if you talk to myself 6 months ago, would I be in the position that I'm in right now? I'd probably laugh at you.
Okay. So when you first started, you were doing none a month.
Yeah, or 1, maybe 2.
We said let's hit 3, then 6.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So 3 a month, flow to 6.
Correct.
Now you're at 10. You
Correct.
did a 10.
Correct.
So what if I told you now 30?
30.
We're back to where we started when we were at 0.
Yeah, correct.
But you see, you forgot that belief.
Got me to that stage.
So why can't it get you to the next?
No, of course. No, 100%. The mindset.
But do you know what I'm trying to say?
100%. Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? And so you sound different, you talk different, you're moving different. So now you've got, tell me about, you've got a team?
Correct.
Yeah, you've run your own business within a business.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And it wasn't easy for you because you went from that, having this income.
Yep.
And then, do you remember we had a conversation, me, you and Ibi? Do you remember that conversation?
Right here?
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
How did that go? What happened?
Probably won't say exactly what it said, but
say the truth, man.
But at the end of the day, it was I think it was a reality. It was like a wake up call to myself.
Yeah, what was it like? Say the truth.
I remember, because you care, genuinely. If you've made it very, very clear to everybody that comes on board, you only put time and effort into people that, you can see, do well or, that gives back.
Yep.
The ones that, don't want to, do well or, which I don't think we have any of this company, to be honest with you, but the ones that, I remember there's one line, it's people like me don't talk to people like you.
Yep. Did I say that?
Yeah, people like me don't.
Harsh.
It's harsh, but it sat with me. You know what I mean? But then you said it's because I want you to succeed. I'm here because I want you to succeed. I can see it, and you just need to unlock it yourself. And it's we always say you're gonna be knocked down a couple of steps just so you can just take off.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. It was a tough conversation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I was like, all right, shit, I need that.
What was it? Share it with people. I remember some. I don't remember all because I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I remember as you, me, and Ibi, I remember Ibi was saying to me something to the tune of, I've been walking on eggshells with Josh and I don't really want him to go and he's the type of guy that I like, but I've got to be careful with him because
100%.
he's this and he's that. And I've come in with new eyes.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm hearing doubt.
Yeah.
right?
100%.
That's what I'm hearing.
100%.
And I remember we had a conversation. We called you in. I think you were sitting right there.
Yeah, you were there. It was here, and I was there.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and it was just like you're soft. Like like I was soft. Like at the end of the day, like what I've been doing over the past 6 years, like you can do it. Like you just need to get over yourself practically and just go do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when
and I remember to put it out there, you were having a conversation about something to do with a split.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Do you remember?
Yes.
You thought you deserved a split because you worked extra on one of Ibby's deals.
Correct.
And then I think I lost it in that meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. Well, now you say it. Yeah, I do.
And what I say to you?
I was just like, because I think we were talking about minuscules of money, like very, very minuscule. And then obviously the grand scheme.
And that's a reflection of the value that you give.
100%.
And I think I wanted to highlight the value you were actually giving against what you thought you were giving.
Correct.
I think that's important.
Yeah, 100%. And you just simply said, like, from what I remember, it was just like, you've got this platform right now where you can now go do what you want to do. Right now, what you're doing is not going to benefit you. And I think that's when that meeting was like, all right, that was the final sort of, all right, I'm going out on my own.
Yeah, you want more income?
Yeah, I want more income. Like, I want more income. Are you going to do more?
Let's put you on a big split.
100%.
And let's put you on your own business.
Yeah.
And let's get you to run the show. Because at that moment, I actually remember I said to you that what you are asking for is good in a way because you believe you deserve more. And I agree that you deserve
100%. 100%.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I said, if you deserve more, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's get you more.
100%.
Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then I said to you, we are going to transfer your business. You're going to run your own business with Ibrahim. And you are going to go on complete how a business runs. There's no income. You've got to create it. You've got to serve. You've got to go add value.
100%.
And what happened? How did you feel when I said that?
Well, obviously I was like, shit, like I was, once again, nervous self. And I remember you said March. You're going out March.
Yeah.
And this is probably still back end of last year. And I was like, and in my head, I remember I was like, nah, like we're going January.
Yeah.
Like why like we're having this conversation now.
I love that. And you said, no, we'll just go January. And I thought, wow, this guy just needed a little bit of belief.
Yeah.
Just to take you to where you needed to go next.
Pretty much.
And so now you're in January and you don't have an associate at this point.
Correct.
You're on your own.
Correct.
And the first thing we said is we need to go 3 months, 6 in a row.
Correct.
And we started to build that. And I remember I started sending you messages.
Yep.
And Ibby, I don't think you believed them at all.
Yeah. I remember when we first sent the messages, I thought they were just like, like he'd just send me a message every once in a while, and then he would do it at 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock at night, and sometimes I wouldn't reply. And I remember you messaged me, you're like, make sure you reply to these messages is important because at the end of the day, he's taking time out of his day to message you, so you at least, reply back to him. And, that was a wake-up call to me as well.
So what were we working on in that period? Were we telling you how to call better or how to become great at sales? What were we really, really, really strong about?
Narrow vision.
Yep.
Narrow vision.
Yep.
If you focus is like, the match, the stick, the fire. If you keep it focusing on it, then you obviously will get there.
Yep.
There was no sort of magic script. There was no sort of,
There's a lot of talk about principles too, like to get back to people. Remember the first message I sent you? It actually said 666 done or 4 6s.
Yep.
But then we wrote, after that, I said something about the WhatsApp group. Do you remember?
Yeah, make sure you reply back. You want to be a leader. Be a leader, pretty much. Make sure you're one of the first to reply back. So then obviously everyone will follow.
Yeah.
And that's obviously.
And then sometimes he'd send you a message, you wouldn't reply for 3 hours.
Correct.
And then what would we say? It wouldn't be a nice experience for you.
No, it wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you give certainty to people when you're responsive and when you're preemptive.
Yes.
And if you're neither of the two,
then you're in the back foot.
Then the foundation of communication's not there.
Correct.
So for us, it was about that. I was trying to find out what are the gaps, what stopped this guy. It's belief, too much logic being applied to what you're doing, right? That was important.
Yep.
Anyway, so you started to do that. Then what happened? So what happened after that?
Yeah. So obviously first month, basic real estate stuff, yes, at the beginning, we were calling, I was calling, 60, 70 people. I was door knocking every single day, collecting data, collecting this, collecting that. And then, bang, I listed 3 in my first month.
What are the things that we asked you to change in relation to the real estate side? What did we really want you to get proficient at?
I like the messaging behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like the intention.
Yeah.
I think that to be honest with you, I think that comes easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, and we've all said
I agree. I think one of the reasons that stopped you from becoming an agent before was I feel like you were calling for the sake of the number, not the sake of the value.
Correct. Just so that we can have a stroke on the board or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. Correct. And as soon as you started calling with value, so what are the things you would basically call about? Like, what were you trying to articulate that you were doing? What were some of the What was the difference in the messaging from before and after?
I mean, like obviously before, just your typical, hey, we sold this for that.
I used to cringe.
Yeah, I know. I remember, when we first started, we'd all come here, we'd all be prospecting, at this round table. And you'd be listening. Yeah. And be like, hey, Josh, say this instead of that. Or, hey, Sonny, Lorraine, Ralph, do this. Yeah,
it was mainly, do you even know what you're saying?
Correct.
Why are you making that call?
I think, to be honest with you, and it's like autopilot.
Yeah.
You call, you literally say the exact same thing. You know the response that you're going to get, so you know already what's going to happen next.
And I remember I said to you and Ibi, you asked me how many associates I had when I listed and sold, and I said, just one. Yeah. And you said, what do you mean? And I said, well, but I've got 1,500.
Yeah.
In the area I work.
Correct.
And then you said, what do you mean 1,500? And then I'd catch you guys on the phone saying something to the tune of, hey, look, do you have any property plans or something? I don't know.
We're going to be in your street.
We're going to be in your street. I don't know what you were saying. All sorts of stuff like that. And the response from the person would be, oh, no, actually, I've started to, I'm looking at knocking down and rebuilding. I'm going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And then you guys would say, okay, thank you very much. You'd hang up. And I'd be like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. You had an opportunity there
to say something
to give value to that person. Correct. And say, well, okay, so you're building in the area. That's awesome. What are you building? Yeah. Okay, I'm building this grand home. Okay, great. Well, be careful about overcapitalizing because of the area, right? Still a little bit. It's got more growth to come relative to what's sold in the area. Yep. And I'll let you know how that goes. If anything sells that's consistent with what you're building, so at least you know where you're heading. And the most important thing is it's one of the most beautiful areas is Gledswood Hills. You should be here for the next 5-10 years, but at least I want to give you the right information. And what we'll do is by the time we end up selling all these properties with our process that we run, we're going to put you in a great position because your property could be worth significantly more by them. So the intention was, I'm there to improve something.
100%.
I'm there to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And then I get off the phone from that conversation and I follow up and send that person a text message and I've just created an associate. And do you know how much I pay that associate per year? Nothing.
Yeah.
But you know what we pay each other with? Emotional support.
Yeah.
I'm here to do something great for you.
100%.
You understand that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So suddenly that person goes and has a conversation with the person down the road.
Yeah.
But why they're talking to the person down the road is their own self-interest. You should use Omar because Omar stands for this.
Yeah.
And because Omar stands for this, he's going to improve your life. And if he improves your life with that sale, he improves my life with my sale.
100%.
Without me ever having to sell.
Yeah.
So I would connect the dots like that.
Yeah.
And so when I used to watch you guys, I'd be like, wow, these are people with incredible vision.
Yeah.
They're on the phones. They're not scared. They're making great calls. I could call 10 people. Our guys, original guys, could call 10 people with the exact same impact.
Yeah.
But what if these people called 70 people a day with that value? What would happen?
Oh, it would be unreal.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Exponential growth.
Yeah.
From a message change.
Yep.
An intentions change.
Yep.
A belief change.
Yeah.
Because Josh, you get exactly what you intend.
Agreed.
And so you intended that for yourself, and here you are.
Yeah.
So would you say that I mean, from learning the actual listing presentation too?
Yeah. Again, practically. Yeah.
You had to flip that. What are some of the things that you had to completely get rid of and start from scratch with?
I think, one thing that we really focus on here as well is that, when we do a deal, the buyers, the other buyers,
it's not easy to do because our business with the marketing attracts a lot of people.
100%.
A lot of interest to property.
100%. We have,
and we want to get the guides right, and that's not always easy to do. That's something I used to get annoyed with when you guys first started, and our system would pick where it should be, and then suddenly there's been a bit of an override on the system.
Yeah, correct.
And then I try to explain to you guys that the person who buys and sells isn't the most important.
100%. It's the other people that have missed out potentially.
Is that something?
Yeah, like right now, like for example, yesterday, Pharrell and I closed the deal.
Yeah.
And literally as soon as we did the deal, literally the second, I was like Pharrell and even myself as well, I was like, we're calling the other buyers.
Yep.
Call them, just say, hey, look, this is obviously what's happened. Probably gone on a contract, blah, 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 blah. But look, at the end of the day, we've got more stuff coming to the market. Here, what we'll do is create a WhatsApp chat.
And you'd even give them other agents' listings.
Correct.
Yeah.
100%. So and correct. Whether it be mine, Oz Realty's, or even somebody else's as well, because at the end of the day, we want to help people.
Yeah.
I think that's something.
Truly. How many people are hearing you say that out there now, saying, yeah, right, you want to help people?
Yeah, 100%. People are probably going to laugh at that and roll their eyes.
So let's flip that.
Yeah.
Don't help people, help yourself.
Yeah.
If you help enough people, they will help you.
Yeah.
So pretend you're not helping people.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be a good business strategy to call 7 people that have entered your space
Yeah.
and make sure that they're happy?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think those 7 people get forgotten about.
Yes.
Majority of the time.
Yeah. That's not acceptable here.
It's definitely not.
Yeah.
We...
Can I ask you something? There's a lot of people that ring me after events like this and they'll say, oh, Omar, you tell people, don't worry about door knocking and calling and do less calls.
Yep.
Do you think that people on the outside, if they were to come here, they would think that it's just easy and you don't have to do anything? I mean, it's easier than doing those calls. But what's the tough part?
Look, from the outside looking in, it probably looks like, we just sit back like this, have, 50 coffees a day, just walk around, just talk, whatnot. But
what are you most looked at here that you're not looked at anywhere else? What are the things that we really, really challenge you on?
I think the things that you really, really challenge us on is impacting people's lives in a positive way. Make sure that you've got, raving fans about you. Make sure that, there's people that, as you sort of said, that if they don't want to, if they're not necessarily selling their house today, obviously they will be selling down the future, or they're speaking to somebody. So always have a positive, outlook.
Leave people better than you found them.
100%. 100%. And one thing is that you sort of say, which you grill me on as well, is like me, for example, or if you have like 2 Instagrams, if you're a different person than you are outside of work and you are inside of work, then that not necessarily can be a problem, but it could be a problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you're, Josh in a suit now, but then obviously you go out and I'm just a completely different person.
Yeah, but hold on, you've got 2 phones now, don't you?
I do.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is what I'm trying to teach people.
Yeah.
Create the effortless advantage. The effortless advantage means you got one energy all the time.
Correct.
If you've got one energy all the time,
you shouldn't have to change.
Then you shouldn't have to change.
Correct.
The tough part about energy is changing it.
Yeah.
So every time you change it from one thing to another, you slow growth down.
Yeah.
So if you are talking to one person or talking to another and the intention's the same, you get what you intend.
Yeah.
Where you start to, I think, confuse the universe is you have one intention on one side, a different intention on the other.
Correct.
So you got the slower growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think one thing for you is the focus and belief to impact a certain number of people per month.
Yep.
Is pretty narrow. You're really focused on that.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm locked in.
Exactly. You're locked in. So if you were locked in everywhere else, you would actually work less.
Yeah, more than likely.
But you wouldn't even realize what's happening. You'll create an avalanche so great that number will go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, for example, like the 10 that I just done.
Yeah.
Was I sprinting the whole time? No.
I mean, you got belief, so that kind of...
Yeah, that helps.
The app kind of...
Oh, that too. I mean, like, what's coming, but that, belief in what's coming, it's just going to be, it's going to be a game changer for everything.
Yeah.
Could I have gotten to 15? Could I have gotten to 20 if I, for example, if I was doing, if I was sprinting for the go? Absolutely.
Can I ask you, did you ever have 15 in your head?
Yeah, I did. I had it in my phone.
Yeah, 15 a month?
Yeah.
Did you have 20 a month in your head?
No.
Okay, so isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
You get exactly what you intended.
Yeah.
I know, it's a moment right now where you're thinking, but why don't I just ask for 15?
Yeah.
Do you know, there's a saying, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and whether it's biblical or whether it's Quran or whether it's anything, it's kind of the same thing. And there's a saying that says, if you ask a mountain to raise itself up and throw itself in the river or the sea without a shadow of doubt in your heart, that's what will happen. But see, we're never going to be able to test that because neither of us actually believe that's possible.
Yeah.
So that scientific evidence is impossible to work out because nobody's going to believe without a shadow of a doubt that that's possible.
Yeah, true.
And so how will you ever know?
Very true.
So if you believe 20 without a shadow of a doubt that you're going to influence 20 people, impact 20 people per month, it's done, and you locked in on that over and over again, and you lit people's lives up, you left them better than you found them. Every single person that came into your shop, you kept them in a high state.
Yep.
Where does that go then?
Oh, well, it's just going to grow from there. You know, obviously,
so do you become the greatest agent in the world?
Oh, you never know. I mean, like, I do have plans on, taking over my core area, my core suburb and surroundings.
Yeah.
Grow my co-agents to them.
Yeah, I don't like, when you start saying taking over, I don't think the universe likes that either.
No.
It's like, what's a better way to phrase that?
Giving back.
Impact as many people.
Impacting as many people as I possibly can.
I want to impact everybody 100%. In my community.
But in a positive way.
And I know you do.
Yeah.
The irony is you do.
100%. Like I'm not in real estate for a stroke on the board or just to say, hey, look at me.
You want to be liked.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I want to impact people's lives. And as I said, this is gonna sound cliche, and people are gonna roll their eyes over it, but I do want to impact people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah. Whether it's in work or not work.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Like when I sat down with my owners last night with the deal that I closed, obviously, they're going through whatever they're going through in life. And, I was just sitting there with them and I felt like I was a part of the family.
Yeah.
Because, the kids love me, husband and wife love me. And it's just like, I want to help them. And I want to help as many families.
You sent a video with 2 kids saying, thank you, Josh, you got us for the maximum outcome. So you get that.
Yep.
And in that moment, you're intertwined into somebody's life.
Yeah, 100%.
As cliche as that sounds.
Literally.
You just are.
I am.
You're you become part of the folklore of that family because it's such an anchor moment in someone's life.
Yeah.
All right. And I feel like you care enough to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why you're starting to create that.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you believe you need to do better now? Where are the gaps that's going to take you to impacting 20 people, 30 people, 50 people?
Yeah. Well, I think for me personally, to get to that level, I think it still comes down to me thinking that I can do it. Believing I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I don't see myself as a 10 or a 20 agent. You know what I mean? Like 10 a month, 20 a month. I don't see that. Like, and that's what I've had throughout my career. And that's probably why I didn't pull the trigger earlier in my real estate career.
But did you see yourself as a 10 a month agent 8 months ago?
No, absolutely not.
So that's the key. Can you remember what you weren't and how you became what you are?
Yeah.
Because that's the loop.
Yeah.
It's how do you continually reset that?
Yeah.
Reset that, right? So here you are now and you're helping 10 people a month.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to see something different.
Yeah. I think, just narrow vision. At the end of the day, we don't scare away from the basics. We still do what we do. We're still real estate agents. We still do what we need to do.
Yeah.
But I think,
what's that mean?
Well, look,
because I've got to stop. I'll probably have to stop that.
No, that's true.
I'm joking.
Well, we still.
What's that mean?
Like, we still call.
Yeah. I've never. I had this kid ring me up.
Yeah.
And he goes, mate, I don't like door knocking or prospecting or calling or whatever. Yeah. I said, where did I ever say in the podcast not to do that?
Yeah, not to do that. Yeah.
I said, they're just vessels.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way we do it, as you know, is you've got the shore.
Yep.
You've got the vessels. You've got the cargo, and then it goes out to someone.
Yep.
So everybody has vessels.
Yep.
A vessel's door knocking, cold calling, whatever. How are you going to get the message out? And we both know what's coming with the community app.
Correct.
It's going to change all the vessels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But everybody knows that.
Yep.
The question is, what are you loading in your cargo? And I would say it's significantly more challenging to load something of benefit and care to someone than to load anything. So those who think, oh, I'll just go to Oz Realty, and they don't tell us to do any of that.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
We actually say do that.
Yeah.
But what do we say that's different?
Make sure the right messaging is going across.
Now, is it more difficult to think about somebody else's position than think? No. Is it what's easier? Do you have any property plans and I'll be in your street, or specifically, hey, there's been a rebuild down the road. I've just looked up council for you. It's going to be a bit of disruption. This is what they're going to be building. This is how it's going to impact.
Yeah.
What's more difficult to do?
Well, obviously the second one, the one that we do, is more difficult.
Exactly. Why?
Because because it takes time to actually look up, what's happening in the street, for example.
Yeah, but how do you even? It takes time to actually think about the other person before you start.
Correct. Talking in their self-interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're delivering value at every phone call.
Correct.
Which is significantly more challenging.
Correct.
Than just saying, right. So yeah, I don't agree you should call 70 people without a message.
Correct.
I don't agree you should ever talk to anybody without a message.
Correct.
Right?
Because you annoy more people.
Exactly. So why did I tell you to stop calling people and call less people?
Because of the messaging.
And what was that doing?
It was just more, look, when we didn't have the right messaging, it was, as I said, you would say you're annoying more people.
Exactly.
You're pissing people off.
Okay.
So you're going to, you know, if you're going to do what you're going to do with your amount of calls or things like that, you're going to have the right messaging.
So so I told you to stop doing what you're doing.
Correct.
But not indefinitely.
Correct.
I said, let's reset.
Let's actually look at what you're doing, what you're saying, and how you're saying.
Remember I used to ask you and your team, do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Do you even know why you're calling people?
Yeah.
Do you even know?
And I remember, I don't know if it was myself or someone said like, nah, not really. I was just to say that, yeah, we've spoken to this person.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
But I can because that's one of the reasons why people dislike the experience.
Correct.
Not because the real estate agent's no good.
Yeah.
It's because they're not loading the right cargo into the vessel.
Correct.
Nor are they thinking about it. So every message you send has to be a gift.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? It's
pretty much.
And if you call, so you start calling people now.
Yep.
You call them with what? What do you think about when you're calling? What do you do?
Oh, like for example, you know, like I went to a listing presentation yesterday, and I've got 2 homes coming to the market on that particular street.
Yep.
And I just simply said to them, like, look, guys, you know, apologies. Like, you know, there's obviously going to be a little bit of disruption in the street. Like, please, you know, obviously you've got my number. You know, if someone parks in your driveway or, you know, parks across your driveway, like, let me know and we'll get it sorted out straight away.
Yep.
And they take that. I was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, he cares, you know, and then it was just simply.
And then what do you link it to after that?
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, they weren't looking at doing anything, which is fine, of course, you know, and I think it was the unbiased opinion is like, you know, you're in a beautiful home, you're in a great location, you know, hold on to it and let me do what I can do around you guys to impact you indirectly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you have to list their property.
Correct.
It means you have to win their heart.
Correct.
And the agent who can do that, and that's why someone like you comes in with the right mentality.
Yeah.
I thought when you came in, when Ibrahim told me what you do and I met you, I thought this is the perfect candidate for this company.
Yeah.
Because you're a guy who feels uncomfortable making 70 calls with no message.
Oh, 100%.
But still did it.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
So for me, that was like all my Christmases at once.
Yeah, you're like, all right, here we go.
This guy, all I have to do is tell this guy what his natural instinct is.
Yeah.
He wants to help people and give value, and he wants to load the cargo, and he's going to grab our system.
Yeah.
And I don't have to convince him to call anybody. The guy's prepared to call anybody with nonsense.
Yeah.
Imagine if I give him something good to call.
Yeah.
So for me, it was done.
Yeah.
There was no other way.
Yeah.
You had Ibrahim's work engine.
Yeah.
You had Ibrahim's structure, discipline.
Yeah.
And then you had Oz Realty's messaging, intentionality and belief and marketing and communication.
Yep.
And I thought, you really wanted this.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
But you did it anyway.
Yeah. And then obviously when you combine the two, that's where the magic happens.
Well, now you went to 6 and then 10, right? So what do you think are some of the differences between the Josh that was sitting here?
Yep.
Do you think gratefulness is a big one?
Humble, grateful, gratefulness. I think that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, like, you know, massive thank you to obviously yourself, but more importantly, Ibrahim.
Ibrahim
is
Ibrahim had to tolerate you for 6 years. Mate.
Yeah, I know, and I feel bad for him.
Being really nice to you all the time, and I'm gonna hurt this guy's feelings, right?
Nah, Ibi gave me an opportunity, and I don't know. Did you ever hear about the story about when I first, you know, he initially didn't take me on.
Yeah.
You know, I remember, you know, sitting down with him.
I can see why you wouldn't fit that mold.
Correct.
Up front.
Correct, because we did a preview.
Yeah.
You know, so it's sort of like a test. It gives you an indication as sort of what type of person you are, how quickly you think, and things like that. And I remember doing it prior to the interview or after the interview, and I remember calling my dad, and I was like they're gonna think I'm stupid. Like I stuffed it completely, and then Ibi called me and goes, look, man, like, you know, I don't think it's going to work out. Like, you know, like we're probably going to put you in a different team. And I was potentially going to go into a different team, not into Ibi's team.
Yep.
And then what had happened was, you know, they put something else into Ibi's team, and then they only lasted, you know, a week or whatnot. And then Ibi called me and was like, all right, yeah, you're starting. I was like, all right, cool. And I remember initially when Ibi said no to me, and I remember saying to him, like, give me an opportunity, like, and I'll show you what I can do. And whether or not he took that as a grain of salt, or he's like, all right, well, look, I'll have that in the back of my mind, and we'll come back, we'll come back to you. But then he did, and then obviously, that's where it took off. But I think, yeah.
But 5 years as an associate is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's another thing. We don't call people associates.
No, we don't. Co-agents, yeah.
It's just your.
It was actually longer. I didn't start with IBI.
Wow.
I didn't start I was in real estate. So I finished school in 2015. I went to TAFE in 2016. Got my full license in 2016 because I was only doing part time. 2017, I got my first job in real estate. I was in there for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Got out of it. Then I was laboring for a year.
Wow.
And then in between laboring, like I got a part-time job in real estate. And I remember telling Ibi that I was at part-time real estate. And I'm like, what do you mean you're a part-time real estate? You're either a real estate agent or you're not.
Yeah.
But I was only doing like 3 or 4 days a week.
Right.
And then those days got smaller and smaller, and then ended up as a Saturday reception practically.
But you were thinking that I heard, you know what we will do? I'll put up in the 8-month period an image.
Yeah.
And this belief changes the way you look.
You're going to throw the photo up?
Yes. I'm going to put the first image up. I'm going to put the image when you first started.
Yeah.
And I'll put the image where you are now.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see an energy shift.
Yeah.
A visual appearance.
Yeah.
Right? Because people don't believe this, but your external way you look can change based on what you believe.
100%.
And there are studies out there.
Yeah.
Go read the book, The Biology of Belief, for anybody out there, and you'll see. Right? I don't want to get too technical.
Yeah.
But it can happen. Belief is everything.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? And I think that's the most important thing. So, anyway, but you were going to leave the industry or something?
Yeah. So like I said, so I was in it for a year and a half for my first real estate job. Then I got out of it, and then I was just laboring. That first lockdown, COVID. I remember I was laboring, I was traveling, doing shop fitting, and then as I got into it, I got back into it only part time. Did that for 6 months, and I was like, look, real estate is what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do real estate. I had a couple of false starts. And then that's obviously when I came across IBI.
Yeah, but, I also remember, this is another thing for people out there, as soon as the gratefulness disappears, things start to change. Because I remember the belief was built.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to basically work with you on certainty around listing presentation, process, structure, messaging, what you're saying. Buyer needs, all that sort of stuff. Human needs. And you picked all that up. And then you had an incredible run in your mind. For the 3-month period. You went 6 deals.
Yeah, I was running.
And I remember you picked up the phone and you told Ibrahim that you were focused on something else for the middle part of the year.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah? And what'd you say to Ibrahim?
I said, Ibs, I'm going to Europe.
Yeah, for how long? Do you think I should go for?
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm going to Europe. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Like, how long are you going for? I was like, oh, I'm planning on going for 36 days. And then he's like, huh? And then,
which is fine.
Yeah, which is fine.
Wrong time.
Wrong time. I just literally just gone out of my own. And then he goes like, "Do you think it's the right time?" I was like, "Oh, look, I'm 27. Like, when is there going to be a right time?" He goes, "Oh, look, at the end of the day, have a think about it." I'm like, I'm definitely not saying don't go. Like, you can go.
Yeah, but that 3 months, mate, you earned the reaction of the value that you gave, and you went, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm out of here."
Yeah,
right. And what did we say to you that was important?
I remember, and then you called me.
Yeah, because we just built your belief.
Yeah, and then you called me.
And now you're going to go hang around 5 or 6 people for 36 days, and your belief isn't yet unshakable.
100%.
And you're going to come back, and guess who's got to be left doing the work to build your belief again?
Yeah, yourself and Ibi.
It just wasn't the right time.
It wasn't the right time. Yeah, it wasn't the right time. So obviously that's been postponed.
I think I called you. I forgot what I told you. I said something to you. I called you about that.
Yeah, you did. You said, look, I'm not, I remember briefly the phone call and you're like, we're not saying don't go. Like, go, go live your life. And that's, you've never said don't go.
Of course, man.
You're a human, go on holidays.
You can't wait for everything to be okay to enjoy your life.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But then you just sort of peeled it back and you sort of said, look, this is obviously what we've been doing. This is what we've done. This is where we're heading, past, present, future, this is what we're doing, go for only like 2 weeks, go for 2 weeks, enjoy yourself, take time off and then come back. And then, 2 weeks is not going to affect you in the grand scheme of things. Like it's not like 10 days, 14 days, whatever it may be.
And then build on that.
And then build on that.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I thought about it, had a chat with my girlfriend, had a chat with my parents.
You have a girlfriend these days?
I do.
Is it still the same girlfriend?
Yeah, same one.
Good on you, mate.
Same
when are
one.
you getting married?
Oh, I don't know.
All right.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All right.
Year and a half.
All right.
We're a year and a half we've been together for. So
A year and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep going. Yeah.
yeah, so I had a chat with her. She's like, look, like, parents are like, at the end of the day, do what's right for you. So I was like, all right, well, then I had a chat with the people that I was going with, and then they ended up, they had work commitments as well. So they sort of said also, well, look, we can't go this year, so we're probably going to go next year. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, well, look, that made my life and job easier with making the decision. All right, cool. Mm-hmm. Europe's off.
Yep.
So
yeah, and it's not about Europe being up. It's about you've got to build your belief to a level of maturity,
100%,
where it's almost unbreakable.
Yeah.
To the point that your vision goes with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
Now, how many people, Josh? How many people do you know, especially around your age group?
Yeah.
They say when they're here, they show you pictures of the beach, saying, "This is where I want to go."
Yeah.
How many?
Yeah, everyone.
Okay. And how many, 2 weeks into the holiday, while they're on the beach, are texting you back into Australia or posting and looking at what everyone's doing back here?
Yeah, it's very common.
Okay.
Very common.
So when you're in your country, you're thinking about being on the beach. And when you're at the beach, you're thinking back about your country.
Yeah.
It's because your vision doesn't escape you, whether it's good or bad.
True.
And so if you take a good one with you and you've got strong belief, then you're always thinking about what's coming next.
100%.
And that's the greatest joy of life.
100%.
Achievement, fulfillment, having a great time, being overseas, being with your friends, enjoying with your family, but you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And when you know where you're going and you're rigid on that, then everything just is fun.
It's clear.
It's clear,
Yeah.
right? That's what people want. People want clarity and peace of mind. They don't want a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the other thing is, so hey, tell me about the marketing side of things, because I've never really asked you about that. What do you think? Because I always like to ask people when they come in about the messaging and the marketing and how they see things.
Yeah.
What were you seeing?
I mean, look, for when...
Because you guys started to copy everything we were doing
Well,
while you were at the other place.
Yeah, correct. I mean, look, we saw what you were doing. I mean,
Yeah.
Ibby saw especially what you guys were doing.
He's a copycat and a half.
He is. He loves it.
He's a copy and paste genius.
Yeah, he is.
And then he tries to convince me you didn't do any of that.
100%. But I guess we can get away with it because, obviously you guys being out here, us being out there, like, we were the only one that was doing it out there. So it was like, all right, yeah, so we're the cool guys.
Yeah.
So the marketing was unreal, genuinely. Like, and I say this in listed appointments, like, and obviously we'll probably be a bit biased, of course, but I do genuinely think it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
I think when the videos come out, like our videos, like it's completely different. And still, like, us trying to explain that to an owner, the messaging behind the video, it's not like hey, it's Josh from Oz Realty, we're here at XYZ.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's not about like, it's not even about the home. It's the emotion the home gives. Yeah. The feeling that the home gives to somebody.
And that's the depth that you're at right now. Look at the way you're speaking.
Yeah.
Look how you're becoming a surgeon and a master of your craft.
Yeah.
You're starting to understand
Yeah.
how messaging works.
Yeah.
How marketing works.
Yeah.
And the deep copying it and understanding it is two very different things.
Yeah. Because you used to say, like, look at all the big brands.
Yeah.
Look at all the big brands. Like, look at Nike. Look at Chanel.
Yeah.
Do they have someone, at Nike, holding onto a shoe like, this is the best shoe. It's made like this, made like that. No, it's always like a video of someone running or, and never any talking. It's just the feeling that the shoe gives.
Yep. Beautiful. And
So-
you're starting to understand that.
100%.
And you're starting to transmit that.
100%.
And that's important.
Yeah.
And I think you've picked that up a lot. It's transferring energy to anyone else other than the people that you serve.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So no, how many times have I told you when you're sitting there with your laptop, what should be on your laptop?
Should only be Oz Realty stuff.
And what's the last thing you should see before you get up?
Your listings.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
Your banner,
Yeah.
your listings,
Yeah.
you and the people you serve,
Yeah.
you and the people you serve.
100%.
The person who can the person who can light the fire that long
Yeah.
in that space.
Yeah.
We spoke about this. Remember this?
Yes.
Remember this?
Yeah.
It's like this. It's like, how long? I can't be distracted, mate. If
Yeah.
I want this to light up, I can't be distracted.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps happening to people. They're like belief, distracted. Start again.
Yeah.
Belief, distracted.
It's like what you were saying about snowboarding or skiing.
Yep.
You're skiing down this mountain. That one moment that you look to the left or look to the right, bang, you're into a tree.
Exactly. But that's because skiing brings focus because you have to really zero in because you could die.
Yeah.
Okay, but on a day-to-day experience, people don't operate with that focus.
Yeah.
So looking to the right doesn't harm you today, but certainly harms you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so you've got to keep that narrow focus.
Yeah.
And what's another thing that we really wanted to instill in you guys within your area? How do we want you to see yourself? What things about, I told you about pointer signs, things I told you about picking stuff up. And do you remember that?
Yeah. So like, for example, if, like another agent's pointer sign was like falling over, you'd pick it up and put it back in. Or, like if their signboard falls over, you would give them a call, say, hey, look, I just drove past or just walked past, your signboard has fallen over. Did you want me to put it back into the ground for you? Or did you want me to stuff like that? Because it's just, people would just, industry, like the competitiveness of our industry, people just probably just walk over it or they'll laugh or, they'll just kick it or whatever it may be.
But don't you think that's an insecurity?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so when you pick it up and you put it back into the ground, you're being kind.
Yeah.
But what do people think about you when you're prepared to do what they're not prepared to do from a character level? Don't you think they look at that and they go...
Yeah, they're shocked. It rattles them. It rattles them.
It does. It rattles them. And it rattles them in two ways. Either to get better or it rattles them to be distracted.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, literally.
We want them to get better. We want them to look at that and go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And see how you start to build yourself, Josh, from the character that you're building. There's so many little things. So what do you think the 5 main things you've done since you've come here that have changed the way or that have got you to that 10 a month?
Yeah. So the 5 things, I mean, like obviously number 1 would be belief.
Yeah. Explain belief a bit without me explaining it. It's your interpretation of it. And it'll change as you get older.
Yeah, of course. I mean, belief, like just narrow vision, focusing on, look, I'm very, very simple and basic in a sense of like, I think if you constantly see something in your head, whether it be on a mood board or something like that, how people do, mood boards, things like that, whether they see it on that or if they have it in their notes, like what I do on my phone, like I have in my notes, what I'm going to be doing this month.
What are you going to be doing?
What I've done. I talk in past tense.
Yeah.
And that's what we taught. Like that's how we're sort of taught as well.
Yeah.
Talking past tense. For example, like the one I sold yesterday. Like in my notes, it's been in my notes that it's done already.
Yep.
So I think what belief is just having narrow vision, thinking that. Well, not thinking, just knowing that it's inevitable. Like
what do you do before you go to appraise somebody's house? If someone wants to sell their home,
selling or not selling.
What do you do mentally? It doesn't matter. Whatever. Let's say they're selling.
Yep.
What do you do before you go to that house mentally?
Mentally, I mean, this is probably gonna sound a little bit weird, but I listen to music. Okay. I G myself up.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I walk in there thinking, at the end of the day, I'm gonna impact these guys in a positive way.
Yeah. And so, do you write anything down?
No, not really.
Okay, you should.
Not really. I mean, look, when I go through, certain like processes and things like that, like we have like notes in my book and things like that.
But do you write down how that meeting's going to go?
No, I don't.
Okay, so that's another 1% that you want to start doing.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to start predicting the future.
Yeah.
Start predicting the future.
Yeah.
You see the focus that takes to constantly be there, constantly be in. I will predict the next activity before it happens because I'm going to transfer my heart, mind, body, and soul to that moment.
Yeah.
And so the more you do that, the more in control of the space around you that you have and the more you can influence and impact. So do you see now how all these principles I've said about don't get distracted here, don't look at this, don't follow that.
Yeah.
Be careful of what someone's saying there.
Yeah.
It's disconnected to that core.
Yeah.
Right? You've picked up a lot of it. That's why you've done what you've done. So out of your top 5, you started off first by saying belief.
Yeah. Belief.
Yep.
I think the process and the structure.
Yeah, understanding
that to a T, and I think still there's probably like I still haven't comprehended it fully.
Yep,
but
you're almost a surgeon there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I think what else I've learned is.
And when I say surgeon, you know what I mean. I mean you're technical with everything that you're presenting.
Yeah, like even to the fine details.
Yeah.
Like down to everything.
Yeah, we don't want anybody sending us one question or message.
No, 100%. It's like the other day when you were saying like, when the phone rings, the office phone rings, you want to find out why.
Yeah.
Because we haven't preempted something.
Yeah. I will sit there.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started, we'll get back to year 5. I remember when we first started, I made my own. I was obsessed with marketing and obsessed with messaging.
Yeah.
So I went and copied some stuff from Chanel, and I made my own magazine. It was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I got the magazine, and I got 300 contacts. And what I did was I sent a mass email with that magazine, and I wrote, "Please reply unsubscribe if you no longer wish to receive the magazine."
Yeah.
And so I sent it, and I sat there, and I was paralyzed for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And every time an unsubscribe came in, my heart sank. Oh, I've annoyed that person.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't want to get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I annoyed that. What do I do that for?
Yeah.
Oh, that's one person that doesn't like my brand.
Yeah.
And I was just obsessed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see the person as an email.
Yeah.
I saw it as a person.
As a human.
There's someone behind there who opened it up, looked at it, and literally went out of their way to type unsubscribe and sent it back.
Yeah.
And I feel the weight of that person.
Yeah.
And so everything I make is for that person.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
We know everything we make.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an important thing, right?
Yeah.
For what you just explained there. So go on.
Yeah, so belief, process. I think what I've learned is gratefulness.
Yep.
You know,
What's that to you? In a practical sense.
In a practical sense, I mean,
not in some meditative meditation sense. Like, what's in a practical sense? What's some of the things that you've had to change practically in how you behave?
I mean, like you know, for example, you know, grateful that you know, the position that I'm in, you know, like even go back to the messaging what we were talking about before, and like if he messages me or you message me, for example, you know, I respond back. You know, grateful to the ones that have like, I wouldn't say you haven't served me, like, but it's just you've like the ones that have helped me to get to where I am. You know, pay them back.
Yeah. Even with just a nice message.
Yeah.
Even just be present in that moment. Even
like
just
last night.
Yeah, like last night. What happened last night?
Yeah. So obviously, like, you know, you send a message into our chat, you know, sort of talking about what's happening today. Yeah. And then you said, like, you know, make sure you message Ibby or message the chat back and say, hey, you know, thank him. You know, so obviously...
Because you can never veer too far away from that core.
Correct.
See, belief and how things work and whether it's religious or whatever, there's a righteous core that you got to stay in as much as you can. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes. I'm not saying, you know, like there are 750 reviews on Google and there's 3 complaints.
Yeah.
Okay? So... do I like those 3 complaints? No. Do I go to sleep thinking to myself, I don't want those complaints? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I get Joyce to call them and try and give them everything possible because I don't like them coming in? Yes.
Yeah.
Do we fix great processes off the back of them? Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
But there's 700, almost 1,000, right?
Yeah.
And so that's important. So to be grateful back to the core of the person and what matters and what they're saying, that's massive, something that you had to do.
Yeah.
Right? We try to remind you about that.
Yeah.
Right? And you're doing that.
Yeah.
So can you see now let's talk about belief. You're doing belief, but we want to do it a little bit better. We want to predict every situation. So 100%. What are you going to do from now for every situation?
Yeah. So like for example, this afternoon I've got 2 LAs. So, you know, obviously write my notes or even, you know, write it down somewhere saying, you know, these people are going to love me. You know, these people are going to obviously have a great experience with me. It's done.
Brilliant. So that's now you've got an extra layer of belief there that you're starting to build, right?
100%.
And in relation to gratefulness, what are you going to really focus on now?
Yeah. So like obviously, you know, giving without expecting anything in return.
And be aware.
Yeah.
Of where you have to constantly, you can't give too many thank yous away.
Correct.
Right? So you want to be aware of that. Yeah. Okay. And what's the other thing? You spoke about process.
Yeah, process.
You're getting better at that.
Yeah.
Which is certainty around what you're doing.
Correct.
And you're training on that all the time.
Correct.
I know because you always call Joyce and you go, what's this? Or how come this? Or the system's this.
Yeah.
Right? What's the next thing?
4th thing that I reckon that I've sort of, I think just being around, this is maybe going to sound cliche, but I think being around everyone's genuinely a winner here.
Yeah.
I think that's massive. Like I always speak to, you know, a mom on the phone, for example. Like our phone calls are funny. Like we're just 2 Energizer bunnies just going at it, like in a sense, like we're practically yelling at each other the whole time.
Yeah, mom's a bit like that.
Yeah, so like, you know, matching his energy, you know, stuff like just being around those sort of people, you know, if I need, you know, a quick 1 percent, I can call you, I can call your mom, I can call Hanny, I can call anybody that I need to just to get a little bit, and no one like you don't expect anything in return.
Yeah.
I think that was like, wow. So like being surrounded by winners, I think is a big
The
thing.
winners, not in the doing deals sense, although everyone's doing a lot.
Just being a nice person.
Just a winner in being secure in yourself and how you handle things.
That's all
it sounds easy, but it's not.
No, it's genuinely not, because obviously there's people that
So people ring me, they want to come here, and I'm like, man, yeah, all right, but you want to be in a great environment, and there's got to be this level of security and we're going to help you build that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't run the real estate arms anymore. Everyone's running their own individual companies. I just basically sit here and I help people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't tell people how to run their business. But anyway, so being around those people, and what's the fifth?
You probably stumped me now.
Well, four's pretty good.
Four's pretty good.
Yeah, four's pretty good. I think the last one's good because how many people are in a place right now where if they just were to exercise those four things?
Yeah. It would change their business.
So do you believe now that belief brings time forward? If somebody was to ask you, how long is it going to take? Because you're both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
You're at where you were.
Yep.
Let's say.
Yep.
It's not where you were, it's what you were doing.
Yep.
Okay? Where you were produced great people.
Yep.
But let me just say to you this. You're at where you were 5 years ago.
Yep.
4 years ago.
Yep.
You've been 3 years in the game. I ask you, Josh, how long is it going to take, does it take to become an agent?
Yep.
What's your answer? You haven't been here yet. You're 3 years in the game. You're still an associate, technically. Yeah. How long does it take? What's that Josh answer? What,
to me or to everybody?
What's that Josh say to me? I ask you that question. Yeah. That Josh, not this Josh.
Probably that Josh. Like I'm probably saying like another 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this Josh, a new guy comes in and says, how long is it going to take?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
6 months. But what's the difference? What's the single difference that brings something from 3 years to it's going to take 6 months?
Belief. Genuinely.
So belief brings...
It does bring time forward. And as I said, there's going to be so many people that are going to listen to this, watch this, and going to laugh.
See, I don't know. I'm disconnected.
I know.
Because I'm so blinkered.
I know you're so... Yeah.
I don't even know what they're laughing about.
100%.
I could sit there like a kid and they'd be laughing. I'd be looking at them going...
What are you laughing at?
I don't know how their brain... What's their brain...
Yeah,
I get it, but I don't.
Yeah.
Because I can't. I don't have time. If my brain goes there, I stop thinking about building something that's going to impact people all around the planet.
Yeah, literally.
Somebody's laughing because I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Well, the second I pay attention to that is I stop doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So that's important. So, yeah, so somebody's out there and they hear that, go on.
Yeah, so obviously, like, it generally comes down to belief. Like, there is no if, buts, or maybes about what we're doing. I mean, you look at, Ahmed, doing what he's doing. Looking at Abdul, looking at what he's doing. Like all of them, Sonny, Lorraine, Ralph, Dennis, like all these guys are
so good there.
Remembering everyone?
No, because they probably asked you for a shout out, and you just tied that in beautifully at the right moment.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah,
that's
Lorraine's like, Josh, you're gonna get
who did you miss? Quick,
James.
Go on. Yep.
But no, I think it's just. It genuinely just comes down to belief. Like it's
seeing
it's just seeing
future
it.
you can aspire to.
100%.
Do you think that there are people out there that complicate things?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. And they probably get themselves in the own. Like I think there was no roadblock where I was beforehand. Mm-hmm. Like prior to coming here, there was no roadblock. Like no one put a roadblock in front of me. The only roadblock that was in front of me was myself.
But you couldn't see it.
Correct.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would always have associates there. Like JB, like you're good enough. Like, why don't you just go out and do it on your own? It was just like, I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, it's just like, I'm comfortable. I'm just doing what I'm doing. Like, it is what it is.
If you had to ask those people from 5 years ago, that would that Josh be currently helping 10 people a month, what would they say?
Genuinely?
Yep.
I think the people that know me in the real estate world, I think they said, yeah, we knew this coming.
Yeah. Okay. So they believed in you?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Like, for example, like there was someone that reached out to me last night on Instagram that I've known for many, many years. Many, like when I first started in real estate. And I haven't had any sort of business relationship. We never worked with him, never worked for him, anything like that. Mm-hmm. And he messaged me last night saying, look, like I've watched you, I've always believed in you. Like,
yeah,
it's good to see that.
But are those people reaching out to you, are they helping 10 people a month?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are some people reaching out to you that said, I believed you could do it, that aren't helping 10 people a month?
Yeah, more than, yeah.
Okay.
There's a mixture.
So why do they have belief in you but not themselves?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of people that are probably going to be waiting for this and, they probably think I've got like some...
What do you think people out there want to know about you right now that I haven't asked? What do you think? Because you're connected to that audience.
Yeah, I think...
What do they want to know?
It's funny, I was talking to one of my good mates that works in a different... And he asked me a question. He goes like, what was that... Like, what was that switch?
Yeah.
And it's hard because I sort of sat there on the phone. I was like, I don't know what that switch was. Genuinely, like, you know, it just, I wasn't expecting to do 10 a month last month. Genuinely, like, did I want to do, did I have narrow vision to do 10, 15 last month? Absolutely, I did.
So you were expecting
to do 10 like, yeah, but like, it's just.
This is the thing that people, I think, miss.
Yeah.
You got what you intended to do.
Yeah, like,
and then you want to play the humble card. So you say, I didn't expect to do 10.
Yeah.
Well, you did expect to do 10 because you told me you were going to do 10.
Yeah, and I wrote it down. But like,
so you wrote it down. You expected it. You had the intention to do it, and then your sentence is, I didn't expect to get 10 for the month.
Yeah, humble, grateful.
No, but you're also trying to basically dismiss belief.
Yeah.
And that's what people do.
Yeah.
And now you and I are going to have a conversation at some point. I'm going to say 30 a month.
Yeah.
You're going to end up in the exact same mental state as you were when you're doing 0 trying to get 10.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not going to believe that belief will get you there.
Yeah, true.
We'll have to build it again.
Like you'll be messaging me like we're doing 20 a month this
and you'll
month.
be like, oh.
Yeah, literally. I'll check my heart rate monitor. It'll be like 300. So it's going to go like, so please warn me.
Do you actually have a heart rate monitor?
Oh, it's just an Apple Watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've been checking that, haven't you?
Yeah, I checked on the way in. Yeah, it was like 130. It's probably, I think it's calmed down a little bit now, but I'm still like on edge.
Why are you on edge? Why?
I don't know. Like it's weird. For someone that's a real estate agent, like obviously, like I'm very shy.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it's funny, like people will see, like people that don't know me.
They don't know you.
People that know me, like will probably, like understand.
Yeah.
People that know, but like, oh yeah, shut up. You don't stop talking the whole time. But I don't know, this is just, for me to go outside of, I think this is probably what also stopped me from doing what I was doing. Like going out, like this is my square. Like as soon as I take a step forward out, I'm like, oh crap. Like, you know, I'm going into uncharted waters here.
Most people
like,
would be like that.
Yeah. So that's how I am as like a person.
Yeah.
I don't take many risks.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go skydiving, like for example. Like, I don't know, I don't take many risks.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's calculated. Yeah. You know, unless I can clearly
unless
see.
You believe it.
Unless I believe it.
I mean, if we could get into your head, skydiving is good for you and you can believe it, you do it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of not taking risk.
Yeah.
It's a matter of people, risk is different at each level. But
yeah.
It's all tied into belief.
Yep.
That's the thing. Where there's belief, there is no risk. So if I was to ask you, actually, I was speaking to somebody the other day. I'll ask you this. If I was to ask you, Josh, would you go and open a location, hire 10 people, put them on an income?
Yep.
I'll give you 6 months where I cover them for you.
Yeah.
And from that location,
yep.
truly, truly.
Yeah.
Answer, right?
Yeah.
From that location,
yep.
You're there now. And you've got 6 months to pay me back.
Yep.
And you're going to be left with 10 people
yep.
you've got to pay and look after.
Yep.
And you're going to run your entire real estate company.
Yep.
And it starts from tomorrow. I've bought the building.
Yep.
You need to take out a loan.
Yep.
You need to give me $300,000 for the building.
Yep.
And you start tomorrow.
Yep.
Would you sign off on that this second?
Genuinely?
Honestly?
Yeah. Yes.
You would?
100%.
Okay, well, I'd test that. Because right here, I've got it for you.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But what I'm trying to say to you is if that belief is tested.
Yeah.
And you say no.
Yep.
You've just said 5 seconds ago that you don't take risks. You don't even take skydiving.
Yep.
But you wouldn't think that's a risk?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so why are you prepared to do that? It's not a risk when you say yes.
Yeah.
It's because with belief, there is no risk. Belief is a guarantee. That's what I'm trying to tell people.
Yeah.
If you truly believe 100%,
yeah.
Why did you jump and decide to go on commission only, run your own business, 5 years, you're an associate, and with one conversation,
yeah,
one conversation,
brought the starting date forward.
You brought the starting date forward.
Yeah.
Was that a risk?
No.
But why wasn't it a risk?
Because I had belief.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. There's risk in the physical universal realm.
Yeah.
But I'm saying generally, it's not risk if you attach belief to it, because belief is what? Belief is an understanding of an outcome that's already happened.
Already done.
So if in your head you're absolutely certain about that,
then there's no risk then.
So what is another word for risk?
Precaution.
Another one. What I say about the moving the mountain? Doubt on your heart.
Yeah, doubt.
So what's another word for risk?
Doubt. Yeah.
And people want to use the word risk because it makes them feel cool.
Yeah.
But I have doubt in my ability is the real thing they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's a layer underneath.
Yeah.
And we get to that layer very fast.
Very quickly.
And we go, right, let's build that belief now.
Yeah.
And then we start going.
Yeah.
And that's why Josh is 20 a month.
Yeah.
It's happened already.
Yeah. It's done.
And we build it long enough and then we get there, right? Is there anything else you think people would want to know about in relation to bringing on associates? So your answer was exactly that. You know, if tomorrow you and I and Ibrahim said you're going to do 20, and you believed it, your answer to everybody is what you did. Is you will go and hire somebody to help you before you need the help.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But you'd only do that if you truly believed where you're going.
100%.
Okay. So that's what you're doing. That's what you've done.
And that's what I've done.
That's what you've done. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So in your head now, that's it. Is there anything that you wanted to know while you have us here? Are you sweet with everything? Because I don't sit down with you often.
No, of course. I mean, I think. What do you? I mean, it's hard. I mean, this is probably gonna be hard coming from you, but I always sort of think, what do you think the outsiders look at us? Like, what do you think other agents? What do you think other people look at us? Do you think they think Oz Realty is just like, I don't know how to word this.
I think what people don't understand, they fear.
Yeah. And
I believe that I used to say to my daughter, I used to say, if somebody's angry, it means, if somebody's mean, they're probably angry.
Yeah.
If they're angry and mean, it means they're sad. And if they're sad, you should have empathy towards them.
Yeah.
So I think if somebody out there thinks that what we're doing is a bit left field, it comes from fear.
Yeah.
And fear starts to manifest into all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Gossip, whinging, talking.
Which we don't do here.
Judging, which is the opposite of what we do here.
Yeah.
So when you start to get into that front, and people say, it's some form of, no, it's just a good business model. The consumer doesn't want somebody who whinges, gossips, complains, has doubt and risk and talks about themselves.
Yeah.
The consumer, we're giving the consumer exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is, who's our target market?
Yeah.
And who is our target market?
The people that we serve.
The people that we serve.
Yeah.
So the real question then is, what do the people that we serve think of us?
Yeah.
And then if the answer then is, well, I know some people that you serve that don't think well of you, well, I'll turn around and say, well, the market share in every area that we operate in seems to be high.
Yeah.
So it means we need to do more of what we're doing
to
impact the people that we serve. So the message is so curated that it's specific to the people we serve. Remember that email I told you I sent and I was waiting for the unsubscribes?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about anybody but Jack on the other side.
Yeah.
So the old saying of, what does Jack think in your area? That's all I care about. I care about Jack and his family. I care about Kelly. I want to know what they're thinking. I'm so stuck into that.
Yeah.
And if that's weird that you have a business that thoroughly focuses on the person that you serve, well, I'd probably argue it's weird that you have a business that doesn't.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And if there's somebody out there who does think that's weird, what do they think of us? I would say the people that actually serve, the people that they're serving, would look at us and go, these guys get it.
Yeah.
These guys are absolutely. But I think the people with the intention that don't truly serve, they won't get it because they can't comprehend, why would you build a business of service?
Yeah.
And isn't that strange?
Yeah, I think it's weird.
Because what's the purpose of a business? It's to give value.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is twofold. Who believes that serving the people that they serve is important?
Yeah.
Whoever truly believes that will be attracted to us.
Yeah.
Whoever doesn't believe that will mock that intentionality.
100%. Yeah, that's true.
But who will be mocked in the end? The person who actually cares about helping people, the person who doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that's what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've probably nailed it on the head, to be honest with you, because obviously, people looking at us, whether it be agent, whether it be our community and whatnot, I think what we're doing in all suburbs across New South Wales.
Any suburb that
any suburb that we service, I think Oz Realty have really impacted in a positive way.
What do you think of belief and Sandy and the messaging and the talking to your owners?
Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer. It would be so difficult to go back to a normal way. You wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
You can't.
Why is that, you reckon?
Because it's just, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, for example, if you drive a Ferrari every single day and then going back to a Toyota, it's going to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, when you're so used to, you know, a high level of service and then going back to, you know.
Well, it's the ultimate co-agent for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, that's how you've been able to
It's a co-agent that rocks up to work on time and then a co-agent that doesn't talk back. So
and sends the greatest
experience and the messaging.
Messaging, yeah. How have you felt about the processes and the messaging since you've come here? Because you didn't think that was important at all.
Well,
before you came here, you didn't even know what it was.
No, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So obviously when, you know, when I first sort of dabbled in it, I was like, oh, like, you know, what do I do here? What do I, like, do I need to say this? Like, but then obviously Sandy took place of it. Like, Sandy did majority of it for you.
And you're learning from the process as it's happening.
Correct. You
Sandy's almost teaching you it.
Pretty much. You know,
so at any level, no matter what agent you are, it's like the greatest co-agent running your show.
Pretty much. Yeah. You know, Ibi had it, I have it, everyone has it.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously I would see the messages come through my phone. It was like, you know, like just pretty much talking to the owner. You know, and it's just like, wow, like it's just mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously especially with the app coming up as well, like
a community app that's going to be, yeah, mate, you're gonna
like like we're already, you know, in a different league, but I think that's just gonna
help people, and we want, like, man, there are so many great agents out there. I see so many. I can tell when I see them. I can tell what they want to be.
Yeah.
And if they just had that tweak, there are so many Joshes out there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I speak to them.
Yeah. And there are Joshes that are doing 10, but aren't happy doing 10.
Yeah.
Because the way they're doing 10 is causing stress to them.
Yeah, or friction.
You don't seem stressed at all to me.
Me?
Yeah, for a guy who hyperventilates every 5 seconds, I ask you to come on a podcast.
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing. Josh, you coming onto the podcast? No response. Josh, sorry, I had to go outside. I was hyperventilating.
Yeah, literally.
Right, for a guy who does that.
Yeah.
But you're managing 6 to 10.
Yeah.
You're not the most relaxed guy I've ever met.
No.
But you're still managing 6 to 10.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Any other questions for now, my friend?
No.
Very good, my friend. Very good. It was good talking to you, actually.